So I was at this spot, and my hammock was here to there, and I was lying down about here, and I could get a view like this, well, like that, but this tree was in the way. Still, it was nice. And the fact of the matter was, well, I didn't look out there all that much. I like looking up at the sky through the leaves. The tops of these trees, when you look up, you know, especially when they've got leaves on them, you can discern that fractal pattern. Or the chaos above. And of course, you've got birds and squirrels and chipmunks. I'll often see birds of prey in the sky above. And I gotta say, I was pretty toasty, with the exception of my gloves. And I left the gloves in my pack, so there's that. I ended up putting on just the hooded synthetic thing that I've got. And it cut the wind like nobody's business. The hood fit my face. It did not have any adjustability. That's a compromise in that coat. But the coat was like $35. And man, it gave me the insulation, it cut the wind. Yeah, it had that hood. And what do I need an adjustable hood for in my hammock? I don't. And if I need the articulation that a cinchable hood provides, you know, I can just put my hat on. That'll force that articulation to be just fine. Let's see. This way is back to the parking lot directly. It was that area that I pointed out earlier, and I said, this is direct to the peak. That's this path. And the path continues here. This will bring us to the other peak. Ooh. Tight. Good afternoon.
Hi. Nice and sunny.
Beautiful day. So that coat did a good job. My legs definitely felt chill in my hands, but again, I didn't have these though. When I was in the hammock, I was thinking, if I were out at night, what I want, what layer would I add to these gloves? Or my more robust winter gloves, should I be having those, to really lock in that hand warmth. Should I need it on the trail, or should I need it in an emergency situation? I need less in an emergency situation if I've got a top quilt. Yet I don't think an uninsulated shell is the way to go, especially not if I'm looking specifically to provide warmth. I think I want some kind of insulation. And given the nature of my activity, I want some kind of durability, because these aren't just bedtime gloves. These are gloves to use when it's cold outside and I'm moving around. And I need that. You know, maybe instead of bringing these, I'd bring a liner and something like that. And put these either stowed in the pack or kept in the car. Probably have a little carton in the back of my vehicle that has alternate equipment in it. I've been continuing to listen to Quest Academy. And it's been good. I've enjoyed it. I think I've probably got another 15 hours in the book, so it's still pretty early, but I felt like a lot of stuff is already out. And big changes are afoot. When I had mentioned to my brother that I was listening to Quest Academy, he was like, "Oh man, that was awesome. I really loved it." I don't know, where would I put it? Is it S tier? It's contending for S tier at the very least. So he's really loving the series. And the earlier books have been great. I think this is the 4th one. And either the 5th one just came out or will be coming out soon. So I'm all out of credits in Audible. So what do? Boom, you know, I have either 12 or 24 credits per year, and that's... I always end up buying more or re-upping early or something like that. So I guess I need to look at the difference between 12 and 24. Really the only obligation when you purchase those credits is to use them before they expire. And that expiry is within a year of purchase. And so, do I use 24 credits a year? Yes, I do. But does it make sense for me to buy at that level when it reduces my flexibility if I just only buy at that level? Because it's not like I say, oh, it's January, I need to re-up my Audible thing. I just don't keep track of it. It's whenever the last time I ended up buying the whole thing was. Or whenever it hit that area if I exclusively, and this is what I tend to do, purchase extra credits in 3 or 5 packs, something like that. I think they're $9.50 or $10, something like that. It's cheap enough and small enough where it makes sense. Though I guess I should look at when my current Audible expiry is and when I'll be charged again, and try and estimate the number of credits I'll want in between now and then. If that number is 12, then I'll do the 12-month re-up, and that date gets shifted. If it's more than 12, then I may as well just buy the 24. Here we go. It's this blue trail leading to Long Pond Road trailhead that will bring us to the second, more open and certainly more blue vista. Pretty cold when I got out of my hammock. I had cooled down, snuggled into my warm stuff. I was like, oh, my hands are cold. That's a good rock to sit on. Though I suppose if I go just a little farther, this rock turns into the clearing with a bench. Like I said, more blue. I usually hang up in this area somewhere between those trees. So I decided, even though I was really cold, that I wasn't gonna put on that outer shell. Instead, I thought, well, I'll put on that insulation, the vest, and wear that. And if I need to open that up to cool down, it's going to be really effective when I just unzip it. Likewise, I still have the same flexibility that I had earlier with my arms and with my gloves. You know, as I was ruffling through my pack, in the lid, which I should probably move these guys down into pride of place in one of my front packs. But I have my summer weight gloves. And there's a time for that, you know, when you are sweaty and you want to take these guys off. Maybe I want to put my summertime guys on. So I'm not constantly saying, oh, my hands are too cold now, oh, they're too hot now. I've got the right thing, and they're thin and they latch together. Don't take up a whole lot of space, certainly take up about a fifth of the space of this thing. So I've got that vest on, and while I brought a hat, I put it, you know, on the side here, just shoved it in, and I decided, since I was already wearing it in the hammock, to like abuse and use the very long length of this merino wool buff that I've got. The thing's like this long. It's just a tube that you pull over your head, and you can turn it into, you know, a light breathable mask. You can turn it into something more like a turtle fur, you know, by folding it and doubling that length, doubling that thickness. What I've done with it is I've taken and pulled it up over my head and made myself a little hat that is very comfortable, does not obscure my vision in any way, and really lets the heat radiate off my head. In addition, it's warming my ears and my neck while I'm wearing this vest. It's a good accompaniment. I'm sure I look weird. I might look less weird if I were to wear a hat. And of course, this cutout here, the path that we're going to take goes in that direction. And we are not going to see that at all, I don't think. I think we're just going to travel here, right? Because that lake, there's a road that runs and provides the trailhead. And we went, you know, clockwise around it. And now we're coming in at 7:30 or something. So I think the suspension on this thing is strictly superior to the old one that I had. I don't know if it's always been that way or if it's a combination or direct result of the changes that they've made in the suspension of their products in the past 10 years or whatever it's been. But it took me something to get that other pack to carry like a dream. And it did. But not with the reliability of this one. That one was always adjusting something. I'd be walking along, oh crap, my shoulders are sore. And it helps with that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's what I'm wearing it for. So I take the time to make that pain disappear. And it ended up being like what seems from this side of the glass to be an insufferable burden. I don't think once I've had an issue with my shoulders. And I could attribute that directly to the height difference in the frame of this pack versus my old one. And since this frame is rigid at the top, I can kind of yank down on it as much as I want. And so my shoulders have this little tent, and the straps are there more to keep it to my body than to support the weight of the crap that you're carrying. Which is the whole point of this pack in the first place, right? The balance pockets. Aside from their greatly enhanced utility, right? I don't know of anything else. Well, I suppose you could wear something that added something like this to your pack, but at that point, why aren't you using an arm? You got a whole system dedicated with that as a core component. Ah, crap. No pun intended. I almost never say that because I almost never mean that. However, when I was up on that peak, not the last one we were at, but the first overlook, behind the bench, somebody had forgotten a bag of dog crap. And I was like, well, you can react to this in a couple of different ways. Thinking they're careless bastards. Let's not say careless because I don't think that's I don't think that's in dispute. But just people who are litterers and don't care about the trails or the community or anything like that. Like freaking smokers flicking their cigarette butts wherever the hell they want, knowing that somebody else is going to clean up after them. Not every smoker does that. I hope. But it's a common stereotype and observable behavior. Either he was that kind of person, or, in a more charitable interpretation, he just forgot it. I forgot things all the time. That seems more likely to me. And so, I had said to myself, I should pick that up before I leave. Take it down to my car and throw it away. But I forgot about it. And hence, the no pun intended. And so I find myself wearing the backpack for different reasons than I did my old one. Sometimes I would keep the backpack on because I didn't want to have to readjust it. With this thing, just because you barely feel that it's there. Not that I'm not aware of it around me. Of course I am. But it's not uncomfortable. It is restrictive a little around my shoulders at this point, but all I kind of need to do is move some of this stuff up a little bit. And that's good on both freedom in the shoulders. Yeah. Any pack is going to require a certain degree of adjustment. I guess it comes down to the comfort that the pack provides versus the compromises that you have to make to get that comfort. And there are less compromises in this pack. These shoes, while they're great going uphill and walking, I guess without this incessant downhill, my toes are pressed up into the fore of this thing. Maybe I need to tighten up my ankles or something. Maybe they're just too small. Or maybe It's just a compromise I need to make. Do I want to go out and buy an uncertain shoe to solve a problem that happens only so often, and the rest of the time it's great? If my knees were bouncing up against this thing all the time, I'd get a new pair, but they don't. And well, it's inconvenient. Scrunching them up or dealing with it. We're nearing the parking lot. Hi. All right. We are back to the track.